Hello, if you are watching right now, this is the replay. We're no longer live, but welcome. Today I have 4 projects that are super simple for beginner bag makers. So if you're interested in getting started in bags, if you have a little bit of sewing history, these would be really easy projects to make. And in the description, I'll link where you can get all of the patterns for them. I'm just gonna wait for my TikTok friends to jump on and then we will get started. Hello, you guys. Just gonna get some stuff prepped. The first one that we're going to be making is a wristlet. So if you have some sewing experience and you want to get into bag making, this is a pretty simple one to do. Hi, happy Friday. Hey Claire, how's your Friday going? Are you ready for the weekend? Yes, TGIF. Hey. Definitely. Hi Laura, how are you? Hi Diana. Happy Friday. So the last time that I was live, I was making some quilted bags and somebody asked me, actually a few people asked me about wristlets. So we're gonna do a wristlet today. And then we have 3 other projects. We're going to do a passport holder, a notebook holder, and a key fob, which are pretty introductory sewing projects. I was supposed to go live at 2, it's 1:57. I kind of jumped the gun, so I might just wait a minute or 2. Hey Sheila, hi Patty, hey Laura. Doing good. It's Friday. I hope that we can hold off on the rain that we're supposed to get this weekend so that we can do a little bit of fishing. Hey Latoya. Hey Barb. This is going to be a wristlet. So I just said that I've been doing some quilted items, and the last time that I was live, a couple of people asked me about a wristlet option. So a couple of days ago, I went ahead and sewed together some blocks, and then we're going to make the wristlet today. So I'll show you. These were, I want to say 3 by 3. These were 3 by 3 blocks, and then I sewed them with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So this is going to be one side, and then I layered it with, I only did 1 layer of fusible fleece, and then I sewed through each of the seams to get a quilted look. So this is going to be one side of the wristlet. This is going to be the other side. If you want your quilted items to match up, so this is going to be sewn like this, a front and a back. If you want the patterns to match up on the side, you actually have to cut it mirrored. So everything, if you go down this row right here, then you want to flip it when you go down here. So this goes here, etc. So you just want to make sure that your pieces are mirrored, so that way the patterns line up on the sides. Hi. So this, I'll give you an idea of what it'll look like when it's done. Let me grab. So this is the wristlet pattern I have on my website. This is made from all vinyl, but we're going to do this one with the top a quilted cotton and then the bottom a vinyl. So this is what it's going to look like when it's done. I went back and forth if I wanted to do a black bottom or an orange bottom, but I found this orange and it matches that fabric so well. I was like, let's just do it. And then this is going to be the interior. So it gives you a little fall vibe, a little Halloweenish. Thanks. So we'll go ahead and do, this is my first time ever doing a quilted wristlet, so we'll both see how it turns out. All right, so first what I'm going to do is the wristlet strap as well as the wristlet strap attachment. I'm gonna set this here so I can bring it back and forth. So we have 2 pieces and they're both sewn the same. You're just going to fold each one to the center on either side and then sew along the sides. Cindy. Thanks, Anna. So I'm just using 1/4 inch double-sided tape, putting it right down the center. Anybody do anything fun this weekend? Do you interface using an iron or heat press? I have a steam press. So I know a lot of people have heat presses that do like vinyl t-shirts and things. Mine's a little bit different. It's a steam press. So we're just folding each side into the center, and then I'm just going to stitch right along the side. I'm doing a 3.5 inch stitch length. I wish I would have done a 4. Oh shucks, you know what? This was for something else. That's alright, we'll just do it. Okay, so this is going to be our wristlet strap attachment. And then we're just going to take a D-ring. There's a flat side and a curved side. The flat side wants to touch the folded edge because that side is going to be covered up. So we want to cover that folded edge up, and then we have our wristlet strap attachment. Walking for 5 hours in a national park. That's what you're doing this weekend? Hey Sherry, I'm making a wristlet. And then we're just going to fold that over, do a little stitch, and then set this aside. We don't need this until the very last step. So this is going to be our wristlet strap attachment. And then let's do our wristlet. So the pattern shows you how to get a finished edge on the end by making a couple of marks and then a cut. And then we're going to kind of do the same thing, put a piece of double-sided tape down the center and do our folds. But at this time, after we fold it to the center, we're going to fold it once more to close it off. Hey Paula. So what all do you make? I make backpacks, handbags, wallets, wristlets, notebook holders. I make a lot of stuff. So we're doing our first fold by folding down the top, which is going to give us the finished edge on the end, and then we're going to fold this side in and then this side in. I also make patterns so that if you want to make what I'm making, you can just print out the pattern pieces, check out the video or the instructions, and make it. Is your machine fixed? Yes. I ordered a hand, well, the guy who fixed it ordered a hand wheel, and so he needs to replace that. It was bent, so that it must have taken a hit on the side of it, which is why it screwed up the whole sewing. So it's sewing perfect. I just need to replace the hand wheel. And then we're going to fold it once more. That way we have a finished edge on all of our sides, and then sew that down. I'm going to use a 5 stitch length. I know, I'm so excited. He was here for about 3.5 hours maybe. And I was here cutting some material while he was down here fixing it. And it was a stress fest. He did not enjoy himself. And when he left, he was like, well, just call me if there's any other problems. And I was like, good. I thought you were going to tell me, like, never call you again. He was really cool, though. Loving my sunflower clutch. I love to hear that. All right. So here we are. We have it stitched down all sides. This is just a little tiny piece of thread. I'm just going to singe that down. And then we're going to add our hardware. So if you've never made a wristlet strap before, it's not complicated. All you need is your material, a lobster clasp, which is this, and if you're using vinyl, a rivet. The pattern does show you how to make this wristlet strap with a piece of cotton as well. So we're just gonna poke 3 holes on the finished. So there's a finished side and then there's an unfinished side. This side is unfinished. This is the one that we did a finished side on. On the finished side, we're gonna poke 2 holes, one close to the bottom. You wanna just make sure it's nice and centered. One up just a little bit. The pattern tells you exactly where. So we have 2 holes on the finished edge. On the unfinished edge, we're just going to poke 1 hole. We're going to slide our rivet through the second hole that we poked. Bring up that unfinished edge, put that on the rivet. So this is what we're looking like. We're going to slide down our D-ring and then fold this over and put that on the rivet as well, and then add the rivet cap. Hey Judy! Super simple. So that's what my wristlet straps look like. There's a couple of different ways that you can do them. This is how I like to do them. And then I'm just gonna get my press to secure it. There we go. And the wristlet strap is done. And then now we can move on to the actual wristlet. So we have our wristlet strap attachment and then our wristlet strap. So it's going to attach like that. All right, now we're going to work on our zipper. So if you're new to sewing or if you haven't really gotten it quite right with the zipper, we're going to wind up making our zipper so that it has a finished edge on both sides. And then we're going to sew that down. When I first started sewing, there was no way that I could make my zipper look like this or have this little end piece on it. So what you can do is you can just lay a regular zipper all the way down and sew it on. This is just going to give the ends of the zipper a polished look when you're done, but you don't have to do this. All right, so now let's go ahead and add the bottom. And again, mine is specific to the fabric, so I want to make sure that I'm clipping it in the right places and sewing it in the right places. Just gonna clip that there, clip this here. Thanks, Cindy. Hey, Donna. Happy Friday. So we're just sewing our pieces right sides together. Is that special order? Nope, this is not a special order, so it will be for sale. All right. It doesn't really matter which side you sew it from, the top or the back. Thanks, Paula. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to open this up and we're going to top stitch. And that's going to allow that to lay nice and flat. Hey Gina, happy Friday. There we are. So now we have our front and our back panels all done. That's what it looks like. So this is going to be the front, this is going to be the back. And because we cut our pattern pieces, they're going to meet in the same places, the sunflowers, etc. Hey, I'm back. It's been a while. I got my several bags. Oh, that's exciting. All right, let's set this aside and work on our zipper. So So remember, you can just get a prepared zipper. You can just lay this straight and sew it right on down. If you want it a nicer finished look, so this is what it looks like. It's so dark. With the zipper end, and then the way that we flare open our zipper, it's going to give you a really pretty curve. But again, it's not necessary if you just can't get it and you want to make this bag. So I'm just gonna put my zipper on. We're going to flare open the front of our zipper. Hopefully this pin's gonna come through. Grab my pins. And where you marked, you just want to fold it down, pinch that mark, and then bring the back of it up. Hi, where do you get your printed leather? I have it custom printed. So it's not like a website where you can buy it. I have it actually custom printed. Hi. And then we're gonna fold down the other side. There we are. And then we're just going to stitch down each side so we can remove the pins. The last time I did this, I think I made a wristlet yesterday. My needle broke. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Thanks, Felicia. There we go. So that's stitched down like that, and then I'm just going to cut off the excess on the side. There we go. And just to keep the sides from unraveling, I'm just going to hit it with my lighter. Thanks, Sherry. Sherry said if you purchase this digital pattern, you should. Oh, if you haven't, you should. It's easy to sew. I have 3. All right, now I'm going to mark down where the zipper end goes. Run that down. Hit the end with my lighter. Get that out of the way, get that out of the way. And then this piece that I put the tape on, I shouldn't have done it that way. Let me see if I can take the tape off. Yep. We're just going to mark the center. Add a piece of tape on either side. Which styles have the feet? Which style bag has the feet? I made it. I've missed you the last few times. Oh, hey, Linda. This is the Leilani. They come with purse feet. The Lola comes with purse feet. Okay, and then you're just going to put your zipper up to the center line, press that into the tape, and then fold over the other side, press down the tape, and then you have a zipper end. We're just going to do a row of stitching right along the bottom to secure this. And then trim off the excess. There we go. So now we have a prepared zipper with the zipper end as well as our opening curved out. And then we're just going to center the zipper to the top and stitch that down. zipper pull out of the way. And then add a lining piece face down, and then sew that on. I didn't add any stabilizer to this bag. Normally I would add a layer of SF101. I just kind of wanted to see what it would be like with the thickness of the quilted part without the additional stabilizer. It also looks like I cut that lining just a touch too long, which is a really easy fix. I'm just going to trim that down. There we go. Then we're going to open this up, flip the lining in so that we can do a top stitch. I know, it sounds so much better. He did a great job on it, the guy who fixed it. There we go. So now we're going to do a top stitch right underneath that zipper. It still knocks when I go really fast, and that's just because the hand wheel's messed up, but it works so much better. All right, so here's one side. This is the top stitching that I just did. This is one side of our wristlet, and then one side of the interior. I'm gonna go ahead and pause for a second and add my nameplate. Let's see. Will this one be for sale on my website? Yes. It sure will. As soon as I get off live, I'll take a couple of pictures and upload it. And I'll just name this Fall, F-A-L-L, wristlet. So if you just do a search at the top of my page for Fall wristlet, you'll be able to find it. Let's see. I want to make sure that this is nice and centered. How can we place personal? So my custom orders don't open up until October 1st, and sign up for my custom orders is available in my Facebook group. So I have two Facebook groups. The one for custom orders, to place the custom orders, is called Butter Bags. And then if you want to look at my sewing patterns, or if you have any sewing questions, the name of that group is Butter Bag Patterns. I see a lot of people get it confused sometimes. Hi, Elvira. Thanks, Judy. All right, so this is going to be the front of the bag. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to lay this right side up. We're going to lay our zipper wrong side up and then sew them together. My husband's home, so you might hear him in the background. Hey, Deborah. Welcome back. Get that pull out the way. All right, so the exterior of the bag is sewn on, the zipper, and now we need to add the interior. So with our zipper wrong side up, we're going to place the lining wrong side up, clip that in place, and then sew it down. Is this patchwork or it's patched? It's cotton fabric that I pieced together. Get the pull out the way. Thank you. Hey, just Manny. I was wondering, I was like, where is this woman? All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and do a top stitch down here, just like we did up here. So if you look at the difference, even if I unclip these, when you do a top stitch, it holds the fabric nice and flat, like this up here. Hi, Vivian. The bottom is faux leather, the top is a quilted cotton. Let's talk about quilted cottons really quick. I have, ever since Joann closed, which is, you guys know, where I get the majority of my lining for my bags, I've been looking for a new supplier, and I was actually able to find a supplier that sells in bulk for resale. So is there anybody interested in purchasing fabric from me if I buy it in bulk? If not, that's okay. I was reading and lost track of time. Guess I will set an alarm. Yes. Okay. So we have our exterior, interior, and then now, hi, Stacy. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. I found some really pretty fabric. So if I buy it, I'm going to be using it, and hopefully you guys will like it too. Okay, first step is to clip the exterior to exterior and then interior to interior. We want to make sure that our bottom bands are lined up. That way when we're done, you won't have one higher than the other. What state did I move to? Virginia. I'm in Alexandria. Hey, Jules. All right, so we've got the exterior clipped together, and then we're going to do the same thing with the interior. Do I pre-wash my fabric? No. It's not necessarily recommended for bag making. Now, if you sew fabrics for clothing, it usually is recommended. But you don't really have to worry about the pre-wash or the like pre-shrinking or anything like that because they're bags. They're not going to be tossed in the washing machine. Alexandria is so cool. Yeah, I like it. There's a ton of stuff here. Okay, we're going to tuck our little wristlet strap that we made in the beginning into the side. And then we're going to go ahead and sew all the way around. We're going to leave about a 4-inch opening on the lining. That way we can turn this right side out when we're done. I dialed down my tension because I'm only sewing 2 layers of cotton here. I think you're 3 hours different here now in the Southwest. Hey, Katrina. I know the time change is so crazy. Everyone's starting to get like used to it, but I know it's very different. So would the fabric be cotton or vinyl? That I'm selling, it would be cotton. So it would be like lining options, or if you wanted to do something similar to what I'm doing as far as piecing it together and quilting a panel and then using it for a bag, you can do that also. So like all this fabric that I'm using for this quilted, I bought it from Joann. I have so much fabric that I just found similar colors and put them together. But the supplier that I'm going to be buying from, they offer collections where you can get like 5 or 6 different prints that all have the same color scheme. Do I sell to the UK? Yes. All right, back stitch when we start, back stitch when we stop. Excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and clip the extra fabric in my corners. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to clip the extra fabric from that wristlet strap too that's poking out. And then now what I'm going to do, so the entire weight of the bag when you're holding it is going to be on this wristlet strap connector that is holding the entire weight of everything in here. So what I'm going to do is just an extra little stitch over where that wristlet strap connector is just to reinforce it. Hi Anna. What kind of scissors? These are Fiskars. When we get away with the hubs and his brother and wife can't stay in chat. Hey Deanie, I hope you have a great weekend. Would you sell pre-cut fabric pattern kits? Honestly, I'm not opposed to selling it any way that you guys want. So I was just approved for an account with them. I had to apply for a resale certificate in the state of Virginia. So I got that all done yesterday and I just got approved today. So I've been looking at their fabric this morning and it's so cute. But you have to order it by the bolts, and each bolt has, I think, 15 yards. So like my first order, I think I found like 8 or 9 prints that I like, and it's gonna be like 850 bucks. So I know I'll eventually use them, but I wanted to also offer them to you guys too in case you wanted to use them. You dialed down the bobbin tension as well as your sew. Yes. Yep. I dialed down the bobbin tension when I sew. I don't change my top tension when I'm sewing over cotton. I was wondering how the machine went. It's great. Mr. Justin came through on Tuesday, I believe, and fixed it. Okay, so here's what we're looking like. This is the outside. How adorable is that? And again, because of the way that we pieced our blocks together, they match going all the way across. And if you missed the first part where I told you how to do that, all you have to do is mirror your pattern. So you do it this way and then you flip all the blocks. So on the other side, this is going to be here, this is going to be here. Let me see if I can do it backwards. That's going to stay in the center, and so forth. All right, so now all we have to do is close the bottom where we turned it right side out, and she is all done. Thank you guys. This machine is a GP1181. And then we're just going to flip in our corners, because that's how it's going to be when it sits inside of the bag, and then just tuck this in. I love it. Somebody was asking me the other day about, because I did a bag, these bags, and they were asking about a wristlet, if a wristlet can be done like this, and it absolutely can. So if you missed it earlier, I said that these were 3 by 3, 3-inch by 3-inch blocks, and I used a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I lined it with 1 layer of fusible fleece, and then I sewed down each seam to give it that quilted look. And then we're just gonna add our wristlet strap, and she's all done. Very fall, very Halloween, fall, October, November. All right, so this will be available. If you want to get first in line to order this, then you can just send me an email, info@butterbags.com, and if it's not sold by the time I get offline, I'll just take some pictures and upload it to my website. Okay, so if you missed the beginning, we're talking about easy introductory bag making patterns. So this, I would say, is an easy introductory bag making pattern, and this is specific for people who have sewing experience. So if you've never sewn before and you watched me make this and said, well, that's not easy, you're right. This is for people who have a little bit of sewing experience. So we did the wristlet. The next easy sewing project I want to show you is, I have 3 more. So the next one is going to be a passport holder. These can also be used as like a notebook holder. So let me switch out my thread. This is going to be a navy vinyl, so I'm going to be using navy thread. And then I'll pull one of my passport holders and show you what they look like all done, and then I'll just be bringing it back and forth while we're doing each step of it. This is again another easy sewing project. All right, let me get my thread. And then I just need to re-thread everything. About your passport cover, I just cannot go around the corners. I really struggle. So here's what I do. I cut the pattern in a square, and then, hold on a second, I'll show you what I do. I made myself a little pattern piece out of this little plastic cutting mat with the rounded edge. And then all I do, so this is going to just be cut in a rectangle, right? All the way down, all the way up, etc. And then what I do is I just line these sides up with this side and this side, and I draw my rounded corner. And I do that for the outside, I do that for the inside, I also do that for the pockets. And all you do is just cut yourself a rectangle, line this up, and then draw your corner, and then that way you know it's the same size on all of your pieces. Hi, do you give classes? No, this is about the extent of the classes that I give. Okay, let's get this threaded. But that's what I do. I mean, it's my pattern and I still do it like that. Because one, it's easier to cut a rectangle. I use a cutting mat and a rotary cutter. So for me, it's easier to cut a bunch of different pattern pieces by just using a square or a rectangle with my rotary cutter, and then I can sit down. So I can cut out a ton of these, a ton of linings, a ton of exteriors, all in squares on my table, and then I can just sit down and I can go ahead and cut out the curves. That's normally what I do. And then you don't get too tired standing up cutting, and you don't get too tired sitting down. Balance. Let me make sure I put my bobbin in. You're welcome. You would definitely be a great sewing teacher. Thank you. That's so nice of you to say. Okay. Here are just some of my passport holders that are available for sale. So this is what they look like when they're done. They have a closure, and then, oh, that's upside down. On one side, you have two separate pockets, which is perfect for credit cards, IDs, cash, and then here's where you can stash your passport. Let me see if I have mine. I do. Mine's customized with my name on it, but that's my passport. Here are my cards, and I think I had some cash behind. Yeah, right here. But you can also put it behind your credit cards. Another thing that you can use, because people don't use their passports every day, so if you wanted to make this and give it away for a present, or if you wanted to sell it, you could also just add one of these little notebooks to the side, and you can change this from a passport holder to a little notebook holder, and you can still keep this in your purse. So you can still use this for your IDs and your cards, and then you can use this for like your grocery list, whatever. If people still do that, I use my phone for everything. But so this can be either a notebook holder or a passport holder. It's marketed as a passport holder. So again, the pattern is available on my website, butterbags.com. If you're watching the replay on my YouTube, I'm going to link the pattern for this in the description. So let me set this back aside and we'll get started. Okay, so this is done in layers, and what that does is it hides all of the stitching. So for example, the closure is stitched to the exterior, but when you open the exterior, you're not going to see that stitching right here because it's hidden. This is stitched to separate those two pockets, but if you look on this side, you don't see the stitching because it's hidden. So this pattern is going to show you how to do each of these in layers, so that way we can hide the stitching that we don't want shown. What do we want to do first? Let's do the interior first. Would you be able to create a Kindle holder? Yes. So that would be a custom order, and that request would be made on my Facebook, and my custom orders don't open up until October 1st. Alright, so the first layer that we're going to do so that our stitching doesn't show is to glue down our pocket for our cards to the inside lining. And I'm just going to, I have to, these are restocks. These are available on my website right now if you wanted to order one. I've already added both of these up there. So I'm just going to do both of them. We're gonna add just a little layer of glue all the way around. The glue is just gonna hold everything in place until we're at the end, and then we're gonna sew all of our layers together. Can you write a pattern for a Kindle holder? I mean, yeah, I have so much on my list to do right now, so it wouldn't be anytime soon, but yeah, I definitely can. All right, we're just going to glue that down, set it aside, and do the same thing with the other one. My mind is actually going. I saw a bag when I was in Japan, and we took a vacation when we were in Hawaii to Japan earlier this year, and I saw a couple of bags over there, and I was like, oh my gosh, they are stunning. So my mind's already going for making a new bag pattern. But then I also have custom orders that are opening, so I got a lot of stuff going on. All right, so that's glued together. We're just gonna set this aside, let that dry for a moment. While that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and make the closures. So this is the pattern piece right here. You can cut two of them out and put them together. I don't recommend doing that just because they could shift while you're sewing it. Instead, I just have a scrap piece for the back. I tape these down, and then I'm just going to sew around the outside of both of them. What glue do I use? Sorry, I meant to show you and then I totally forgot. This is Fabri-Tac. So I got this at Walmart. I know Michael's has it, Joann has it, Walmart, a lot of different craft stores. You can pretty much find it anywhere. All right, so we're going to sew around the outside. Let me pull my bobbin thread up. And we're just gonna go nice and slow around that curve. I'm actually just going to go ahead and hand wheel all the way around. That way I know my seam allowance is the same all the way around. I don't have to worry about this crazy fast sewing machine jerking it. Thanks, Just Mammy. I said earlier that's what it looks like stitched on, and then I'm going to do the same thing here. There was a guy who came to my home on Tuesday to fix my machine. He was down here for like 3.5 hours, and he did everything but thank the Lord. I mean, he didn't like cuss or anything, but he was definitely stressed out. Uh-oh. I think because I didn't tighten my tension, that thread, when I did the stitching at the very top right here, for some reason it didn't catch those holes, which is no problem. I'm just going to take this thread out and start all over. That's my husband in the background. Okay, let's try that again. And you can sew around your curve. My sewing machine just goes so fast sometimes. There we go. All right, and then now what we're going to do is just cut those down to size. And you can, like I said, you can cut two pieces that are the same and sew them together. I just find that this works so much better. I don't have to worry about my fabric shifting underneath it, and everything is nice and even. Now at this point, because this does have a raw edge, you can add edge coat to it if you'd like. I've heard of people using a Sharpie to cover the edge. That's totally okay. The raw edge doesn't really bother me that much. Thanks, Lisa. Will you have more of the cow print for the wristlet? I don't think I have any more of that. But you can custom order that when my custom orders open in October. Alright, so here's what we're looking like, the front and the back. And then now we need to add our snap. So I'm going to center and make a mark. I'm going to use my hole punch to punch that hole out. There we are. And then I'm going to grab my hardware. Let's see. Oh, put the other one in. Hi, L. Is that LK Craftworks? Hi. Happy Friday. Normally, whenever I make the passport holder, I do a bunch of them at a time. That way I don't have to switch my gosh, what are those things called? Switch those out a whole bunch. I may ask, where do you get your faux leather from? So the solid color that I get, that I have is from marinevinylfabrics.com, and then I have my printed vinyl custom printed. All right. So for the closure, we're going to use the male side, which is the one that looks like this. So I'm going to put that rivet through, and then we're going to press that into place. Let's see, this one, my die, it's called a die. All right, so I'm just going to set that in the hole, add the top, and then set it. And then the same thing with this one. And then I'm going to change out my die so that way I can do the other one. All right, let me set this aside. And let's get back to the credit card holders. So now what we're going to do is just stitch right down the center to separate the top and the bottom. You can measure it. The pattern tells you exactly where to do it. I'm just going to kind of eyeball the center. I've made so many of these. Back stitch when you start and when you stop. There we go. And then now the next layer is going to be to sew the exterior, or not sew, I'm sorry, glue the exterior and the interior together. So let's do this. Let's grab our exterior pieces. Just gonna add the glue. And again, the glue is just going to hold everything in place until we're done. There's really only 3 places that you sew on this pattern. Separate the lining, sew the closure that we just did, and then the final sew all the way around to sew everything together. So I would consider this more of like a craft project than a sewing project, but you definitely need to sew. Happy Friday, Arlene. All right, now because this is directional, I just want to make sure that it lines up. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. There we go. So we have the outside and inside glued together. And then next what we're going to do is sew down our closure. And the reason why we're not adding this other pocket yet is because we're going to sew this down and then we're going to hide those stitches with this other pocket. What pattern is this? No worries, this is my pattern. It's called the Are We There Yet passport pattern. Just getting rid of those little tiny threads that are sticking up. There we go. And then gonna add a piece of double-sided tape to both of these. That's gonna hold it in place while I'm sewing it down. You're welcome. There we go. I'm going to line this up and center it. Just gonna add a little mark where it goes. Take that tape off. There we go. And then do the same thing over here. Make sure that's centered. I was trying to listen to my husband while I was focused on this. Come down just a touch. There we go. Alright, so now what we're going to do is stitch a rectangle to secure this down. How's your weather been, Storming? No, so it was rainy and cloudy yesterday. It was sunny this morning, but it's cloudy now. This material is faux leather. All right. There we are. Going to singe those little threads. That's what it looks like stitched down. And I'm gonna do the same thing over here. I'm in Northern Virginia. Just check my bobbin real quick, make sure everything's good. Oh no. Hopefully that doesn't break. There we go. There we go. There we are. So that one is stitched on as well. And then now what we're going to do is add the other little snap that this clips to. So again, I'm going to measure down. I haven't made one of these in so long. I need to actually measure how far in it goes. Okay. I haven't made one since I was in Hawaii. Okay, so I'm just going to mark the center. Did I move? Yeah, I did. Mark the center. Poke through both of those. Grab my hardware. And then we're going to set it with the press. What a great set with the, I know, right? All three of them. Oh, that's the wrong one. Alright, I switched out my die. Am I making more after this? Yes, I have 2 other things that I have to make. We're going to make a notebook holder, and then we're going to make some key fobs. So the premise of this this live today is just to show a couple of really simple patterns to make if you're relatively new or want to get into bag making. I always check to make sure it closes and it opens before I finish it. Sometimes you just get bad hardware. I've had to take a piece of hardware out before. So always check. And then the last step is just to glue down the other pocket, and then we're going to sew all the way around to finish it. And so if you do every step in that order, then you'll cover up any stitching you don't want to see on the outside, and it'll look so much more seamless. The pattern does have a video tutorial that'll walk you through how to do it too. The notebook holder is fantastic. Make them for Christmas gifts. They are perfect for, I do too. I also, whenever I have like a event to go to, if I need to bring like a hostess gift or anything, I'll usually bring a notebook holder. I had some Hawaii specific prints when I lived there, and so anytime I would go somewhere and needed to bring a hostess gift, I would just take one of those. Alright, so now all we need to do is sew all the way around, and that's going to secure all of our layers together, and it'll be done. Thanks, Sherry. Just ran over my sewing pedal with my chair. I'm still getting used to not having carpet underneath me. Okay. I'm going to use a 4.5 stitch length. And then just go nice and slow. I'm not going to backstitch when I start or when I stop. Instead, I'm going to pull through my threads and knot them off. It just gives it a little bit more of a seamless look. Flip this out of the way. I'm just going to pull my thread through the front, and then keep going. Almost back to the beginning. I'm going to make sure I'm holding my thread out of the way. I don't know if you can see that. So that way I don't run over them or sew over them. And then just go nice and slow. Uh-oh, I got this little puzzle piece. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and knock this off. Can you guys hear him? Like what he's saying? And I'm just gonna singe that down. And that just makes it look a little bit more seamless on the outside. I think I doubled up one stitch right here. But that's what it looks like. So that's what it looks like on the outside. And then on the inside, we have our separated credit card, and then where our passport or notebook holder goes. No, what's he say? I just want to make sure you guys can't hear him. A few words just, okay. Oh, okay. Okay, hold on a second. Hey, Jay! Hold on, let me hit him on our speaker. Hey, sucker, I can hear you. Do this one, and then we will move on to the notebook holder, which is similar. It just doesn't have the step for the credit card slots, but it's very similar. Sounded more like a TV. His voice carries. Pull this through. Somebody on my last video said that it was really noisy in the background. I have an air purifier going, and then I have the ceiling fan going. And so before I came live, I turned off my air purifier because that can get really noisy. And I think my ceiling fan, it was the pull down thing was banging. The last time I was live, I know somebody said they could hear that, so. I don't want to invest in like a little microphone or anything. I think that might be a little much. So I just want to make it as quiet as possible in the background. I heard something taking over the world. When are you live? What days? So my schedule is really kind of hectic right now, so I don't really have a, like a normal time that I go live. Was I live? I was live last Monday. I was live Monday because I had to get my sewing machine done on Tuesday. So I'm going to try to go live again on Monday. Alright, so there's the stitching around the outside and then on the inside. She is ready for a passport holder or a notebook. So I've got two of these. That's how easy they are to make. And then let's do a notebook holder next. The machine is fixed. It's sewing perfectly. I just have to get a new hand wheel. All right. So very similar, we're going to do the same thing with the closure. This has a little credit card pocket, and then it also has a little pen holder. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, if you're watching the replay on YouTube, I'm going to link the pattern for this in the description. And if you're watching live and you want to just jump and get it, it's on my website, butterbags.com, underneath the DIY. Can the speed by gear down? That machine is crazy fast. Yeah, there's a way you can lower it. Okay, so this is going to be the outside of the notebook cover, the front and the back. This is going to be the inside, and then we're going to have two pockets, like that. And that way, the notebook that comes with it is just going to slip behind the pockets on both sides. And then we're going to have a little mini pocket right here for credit cards or your ID or like business. I know my husband uses his for business cards. This is going to be the closure, and then we're going to have a little pin holder right over here, so that way you can hold a pin in it. The owls. Thanks. Bye, Rose. All right, so let's start with the closure. Actually, I'm gonna start by gluing the inside and outside together. The owl. I actually didn't even realize that I already had one of these in stock, and this was already cut out. So I was like, let me go ahead and just do this. 2 of them in stock won't hurt anybody. All right, so fabric tack all the way around the outside. And then we're going to line this up. And I cut this out the same way I was telling you guys about the passport holder. I cut it out in a big old rectangle, and then I use that same piece of plastic chopping mat to make my corners. Make sure everything is nice and even. Just push that down, and then we're gonna set this aside. It is so popular. What's the name of the material? So this is faux leather or vinyl. All right, let's go ahead and make our closure snap. And it's gonna be done the same way. I cut out one of the pattern pieces. I use a little scrap piece for the back, tape them together, and then cut it out after I sew them. I love my old, well, not my old, my other sewing machine, which is an older one, an older model. It has the needle position, so if I stitch one, the needle stays down in position every single time I sew. And it also has an automatic thread cutter, which I'm obsessed with. I don't even really need a trash can over there because it just cuts the thread and I just keep it moving. All right, so that's sewn together, and then we're just going to cut it out. And then again, if you want to use edge coat or paint the edge of these, since it is a raw edge, you can absolutely do that. And then for the passport holder, if you edge coated your closure and then you wanted to do the same thing when you're done, after you sew it all together, you can just go around all of the sides, just pull this back, and you can edge coat the entire outside of this. All right, let's add, I should have added the, oh well, gonna have to switch out my dies again. Finally got you live. Hey Erica, hey Nancy Bear, happy Friday. Grab my punch. I'm gonna hold off on changing my die so that way I can go ahead and install this one. Again, it's been so long since I've made one. Let me do my little measurement. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right. So I'm going to center. Push that out. Grab my hardware. And then set this. And I'll switch out my dies and do the for the closure. Put that down. Got a lot going on. Oh, here it is. I was like, where in the world did that go? I just set it down. Okay. Let's install this and then we'll get back to the actual notebooks. And if you don't have a press like this, there's a lot of these snaps. They're called spring snaps. There's a lot of snaps that are sold on Amazon that come with like a little handheld tool, which in my opinion is just as good. So you don't have to have one of those big things because those are like $100 I think. You don't have to have one of those big ones to make this pattern. All right, we're going to go ahead and sew this on the back. Mark the center. Line that up. And then we're going to sew a square to secure that down. Send your little baby hairs. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and set this aside. You want to test it, make sure it snaps, unsnaps. Okay. And then now we're going to work on our pin holder, which all you have to do for this, add a little bit of glue on one side, fold it over, and we're going to set this aside. What is this you're sewing? This is a notebook holder, Sherry. Add a couple of clips just to hold that in place while that glue is drying. Set that aside. And then our little pocket holder, we're just gonna make a nice finished edge on the top. Fold that over, sew it down, and then that's it. This is the last step. Then we just put all of our layers together and sew everything. So we're just going to fold that over, push that down into the tape, and then just sew along the top. All right, let me grab my pocket. Line that up. That's not it. We have to sew this down and then we'll be done. So this is a little bit different than the pattern. I'm going to sew down this side and then sew along the bottom. The pattern says to sew all 3 sides, But since I made the pattern, I was like, well, you can, and then when you're sewing everything together, you'll just have a double stitch, or you can just wait until you sew everything together, which will catch the side of the pocket. So either way is fine. One's not right, one's not wrong, but that's just a little change that I've made since writing the pattern. So we're just gonna sew down, across. And this is a little mini pocket. All right, let's put everything together. So I'm gonna add some glue. We're gonna glue it in place, then we're gonna sew it. And then after this notebook holder, I just have one more easy project if you want something to do for like a gift. Or if you've got like a little market coming up and you want to make a couple of quick things. We're going to do some key fobs next. Make sure that's right side up. Let me add a couple of clips just so it doesn't shift while I'm sewing. And then we're going to add our pin clip right here. There we go. So the last step is just to sew all the way around. It's going to secure all 3 layers, 1, 2, 3, and then these, all of them together. And then again, because we didn't catch this pocket when we sewed this on, when we sew all the way around, it'll go ahead and catch that. And that's it. Then she's done. Grab some water real quick. Ugh. Okay. Let's go. And then just like the passport holder, I'm not going to back stitch when I start and stop. Instead, I'm going to pull my thread through and knock them off. What size notebook is this made for? This is, I think, like 8.5. 8 1/4 by 5.5. So 8 1/4 by 5.5. I have an Amazon storefront list on my website, so I have a link to where I buy these particular notebooks on Amazon. But there's quite a few of that size. That's like a standard size notebook, so it's not a specialty or anything. And then if you want to enlarge it, you can do that as well. If you do what I did as far as the corners are concerned, if you want to make this, let's say, 1 inch longer, cut it 1 inch taller, keep the length the same, and then use your little rounded corners for each of the corners, and then just make sure that you cut this also 1 inch longer and this also 1 inch longer. So you can make it a different size. And same thing if you want it smaller. If you want this a little bit more narrow, just cut it down to size, cut a square or a rectangle, curve your edges on all of your little pieces, and you can make it a different size. You're welcome. All right, I'm gonna pause and pull my thread through. And then keep going. It's really, this pattern is really just a bunch of rectangles with a curved edge. That's it. clips and double hooks can you make this with quilted squares? So this, if you notice, has a raw edge on it. You don't want to leave cotton, which is what the quilted squares are. You don't want to leave those with the raw edge or they will fray. So I would say no. I mean, you can, there's just other things that you would have to do. You would have to get something behind all of your fabric. I mean, it would just be a lot more work. There we go. So we're all done. So that is the stitching on the inside and then the stitching on the outside. And then this is, let me see where I can find where we started and where we stopped right here. Or you would have to bind it, yeah. But so for like here, you would either have to bind this or you would have to make this a finished. You can do two of these together. You can't even do that. Yeah, you would have to bind it. You would have to bind it here, and then bind it all the way around. And then with this, you would actually have to sew it inside out, turn it right side out to have a finished edge. What kind of thread are you using for vinyl? So I have, I use Gutermann, and it's the Mara 70. All right, so all of my notebooks, holders come with notebooks. This is what it's going to look like. And this is a restock, so it is available on the website if you're interested in it. When you open it up, you've got a little pocket right there, and then you got your little pen holder over here. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4 items that we've made so far, and then the last one that I want to show you, which is a really easy pattern, is the key fob. This I don't have a written pattern to. I will just give you the measurements so that you can make them yourself. I use my notebook holder as a planner. Thanks, Elvira. Okay, so and I didn't even realize that I'm using the same pattern. This is one of my most popular prints, and I've been out of stock forever, so I'm just doing a whole bunch of restocks. So I didn't mean to choose the same pattern, but that's why. For the key fob, you want to have an exterior, I'm using vinyl, and then you want to have an interior, I'm using cotton. It's 2 inches wide by 10 inches long, and then you want to draw a line down the center if you're using vinyl for the exterior. You can also use cotton for the interior and the exterior. For the interior, you want to fold each side right into that center, and then I just press it with an iron. But if you want to use fabric for the outside as well, you would just do the same thing. Have 2 pieces, 2 by 10, fold it down the center, iron it, and then put the folded sides together. That way you don't have any raw edges, and then sew it down. I'm using that for my interior, so I'm going to set that aside. And then all I do is just add a piece of double-sided tape right along this side. You can't iron down a vinyl, so I just use tape for it to hold it in place while I sew it together. These are like super simple to do. They come together incredibly fast. So I'm going to be doing 5, so it won't seem like it's really that fast. But to do 1, it takes no time at all. And you need very little materials. The only thing that you need that I don't have here on my table are the key fob hardware. Okay, and then all you want to do, again, if you're using vinyl, is just fold this into the center line on both sides. And then we want to hide the fold in the center. So we're going to take this fold and lay them together. And then I'm just going to add a couple of clips so that way it doesn't move around while I'm sewing. Got some little thread pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1. That way if you need to run, you don't have to wait for me to get all of these prepped together, because I'm just going to do the exact same thing for the other 4 that I have to do. And then all you do, I'm just gonna sew around all 4 sides and then add the hardware, and that's it. So that is sewn down. That's the stitching on the outside and then the stitching on the inside. And then you just fold those 2 raw edges together. I like to add a couple of clips so they don't move. Let me go grab my hardware. I'm going to just set the hardware and that's it. They come together so fast. Let's see, I haven't made one of these since I moved. Where's that hardware? Here we go. I love the hardware from Country Brook Design. So that's where I get mine from. They're very hefty, very sturdy. And these actually have little teeth on the end of them, which grips, I don't think you'll be able to see it, but well, maybe you can. It grips the vinyl or the cotton, whatever you put it on. So I just really love that about these. I bought some from Amazon and they were just flat. So it's a higher likelihood that if this gets pulled out, this gets pulled out of your hardware because you don't have those little teeth, those little jagged edges that's actually holding the fabric in. Hey, Tammy. So that's why I like to get mine there. This tool I also got from Amazon. It's not needed. Before I bought this, I was just using a pair of pliers that I had wrapped in electrical tape. So I just figured since I was going live and showing people, I should probably set a better example. But don't buy a tool if you already have one that you can use. Use glue. For pliers, you just want, if you're using something metal, you don't want to use metal on metal, right? Or it'll scratch your hardware if these were just metal, but there's the little rubber casing, which is why I just wrapped electrical tape, so that way it's not metal on metal and it won't scratch up your actual hardware. But yeah, you could take a hot glue gun and you could add it to a pair of pliers. Tape, whatever. But again, because these have little teeth right here where it grips the fabric, it's going to take a bunch of weight to get the fabric out of this. So it costs a lot more than, not a lot, it costs a little bit more than the ones that I purchased on Amazon before, but to me they're worth it. It's peace of mind and they'll last pretty much forever. Oh, inside of the clip. So that's how you make a key fob. And there's a ton of different ways to do it. Again, you can use cotton for the inside and the outside. You can use vinyl on the inside and the outside, or a combination of the two. I'm just gonna keep making these. This is all that I have left for today. What time is it? 3? It doesn't realize that it doesn't seem like it's been 2.5 hours already. What time did I came on at 1, right? Or was it 2? It had to have been 2. Was it 2? At 1? Eastern or 1 Central? I know you're an hour behind me. Oh, okay, so it was 2. I was like, it doesn't feel like it's been 2.5 hours. My butt usually starts hurting at that time. Okay. 1 Central, 2 Eastern. I saw that it was almost 3:30 here and I was like, there's no way. Remind me to show you guys something that I did yesterday when I'm done with these. I took a pattern that I already had and I tried to mini it, make it a little bit smaller, make it into a mini, and it kind of worked. but I'm not really feeling it, and I want to know what y'all's opinion is. I probably won't add it to my lineup just because I'm not really in love with the way that it looks. I got notified at 2:15, but I was picking up my RV to store it for the winter. Yeah, that sounds right. Are you in Eastern time, Erica? Buffalo. How's the weather up there? Just Mammy, give me a weather check for Texas. Beautiful today. It looks like the sun's trying to come back out. I might take my dogs for a walk after this. Mid-90s. So hot. All right, last one. Right? I think it's like only 75 out here. It's gonna be like mid-70s next week too. And then it's gonna be like mid-60s in the morning. Or at least that's what they say. Do I have any wristlets on baseball vinyl? I don't, but it's cooling down. 75 is so low, but I feel it early. Oh, that's nice. I love fall. Fall's probably, well, fall and winter is probably my favorite season of the year. We did not have either where I lived for the last 3 years, so it's going to be really nice. I want to say it was like Wednesday. It was in the low 70s, but in the morning it was kind of chilly, and I like lit my pumpkin candle. I was just definitely in the fall spirit. Hi, Andrea. I'm just gonna sew all these like back to back. That's what I normally do when I do a restock. I usually do, like, when I order my fabric, I customize this how I wanted it printed, and that way when it's folded in half, it's right side up on both sides. And I do 5 on a sheet when I have it printed. So I know that whenever I restock one, I do at least 5 of them. So this is exactly how I do it every single time. This is it for the day, yeah. I wanted to give like a little bit of everything, and mainly I know that there were a lot of new sewists the last time I was live, and they were asking for easy patterns, so I wanted to just have a little video, because this is going to go up on my YouTube. I wanted to have a little video that had some pretty straightforward easy makes in one video, which is why we did all of these. When will you be live next? Monday. But if you're in my Facebook group, before I go live, I always make a post. So this morning I made a post to let everybody know that I was going live today at whatever time I go live. So if you're in my Facebook group, you'll get notified. You're welcome. All right. Ugh. I talked to my mom yesterday. She'll be here in like 2 weeks. I'm so excited. What is your Facebook group name? So I have 2. Make sure you join the right one. If you're looking to purchase finished products, like the products that I make, you want to look for the group that's named Butter Bags. Butter Bags. If you want information on my patterns and sewing, you want to join the group that's called Butter Bag Patterns. You cannot join both. I had a huge issue when I created the second group where people were posting sewing questions in my regular group. So I try to prevent all that from happening by just having everybody in one group, one or the other. So Butter Bags if you're interested in the products that I sell, Butter Bag Patterns if you're interested in patterns. Ugh. All right, last one. Done. Let me add my key rings. And then after this, I'm going to jump off and work on, there was something, oh, I needed to show you guys what I was working on yesterday. All right, let's wrap this up. So we got our key fobs, easy breezy beginner project. We have our wristlet, which is what we did at the beginning. I would say if you have some sewing experience, this should not be hard to do at all. We did our passport holders. Again, it's more of a craft in my opinion than an actual sewing project because you're only sewing this piece. You are sewing down the center and then you're sewing all the way around. So I would consider this more of a project or a craft than a sewing project. Got that, and then we have our notebook, which is pretty much the same thing. We're only sewing a couple of pieces. Your little pocket, that's not sewn together. We're sewing together our closure and then all the way around. So these are just a couple of easy sewing projects that you can do if you're new or if you want to get into bag making. But that's it. That's it for me. Oh, hey Jen, let me show you what I did. So yesterday, I wanted to make a wallet that was, so I have this zip around wallet. I also have a mini zip around wallet. And then I have a traditional wallet and I wanted to make a mini traditional wallet. So I took the Necessary Clutch wallet and I did a couple of changes to make it smaller. And then this is what I came up with. I didn't even finish it because again, I'm not like in love with it. But this is what it looks like. So I just have to sew these down. That's like the last step. So this is a mini Necessary Clutch wallet and then I just used a magnetic snap closure. I feel like it doesn't need to open up this wide for something small. So I'm gonna have to reduce the size of this flap that holds these together. But it just seemed a little bit much for a mini Necessary Clutch wallet. But that's what I was doing yesterday. And again, I'm not in love with it. I think it's kind of cute, but I think it's a little bit bulky for it to be a smaller type of wallet. So I want to do a little bit more changes or maybe even make a pattern for myself that's not as thick. It's definitely bulky, yes. It's cute though. Thanks, Just Mammy. There's a pattern for, oh, is there? I mean, all I did was reduce all of these pieces down the center the same amount. I think I reduced all of them by like 4 inches and came up with this. Everything else is the same. I reduced this by the flap by 4 inches. I reduced the body by, I just reduced everything by 4 inches down the center. Thanks, Lacey. All right, so that's what I was working on yesterday, but I'll probably work on another pattern That's just a little bit different where it's not bulky. The mini NCW, was it as bulky as this? I know somebody just said that they had a pattern. Or was it not? I had the mini. I didn't even know that there was a mini pattern. Thanks, Jen. Paula, no, it's not as bulky as this. I'll have to take a look at it because I didn't even know that there was one. Maybe one pocket inside. Not that bulky. Okay. I'll have to take a look at it. Yeah. But I know, I mean, I can think of just a way to just reduce the amount of this little side curve right here to make it a little bit less bulky. But we'll see. All right, so that's all I got for today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will be back on Monday for sure.